Welcome to the Vital Spirit podcast. I'm Dr. Kelly Livingston, a naturopathic physician and your guide to a new health reality, one that connects body, mind, and spirit. Together, we'll dive deep into the art and science of holistic healing. Through working with hundreds of women through midlife transitions, I've discovered something profound. Most of our physical and emotional challenges are rooted in a maladaptive stress response. And true healing begins when we regulate our nervous system. Each episode will explore complex health topics in simple, empowering ways, uncover the deeper wisdom within each of us, and share practical tools for nervous system regulation to help you awaken your vital force and create lasting wellness. So, if you're ready to reconnect with yourself, your health, and your purpose, let's begin this journey together so you can experience life more fully human and deeply healed. Hi, and welcome back to the Vital Spirit podcast. I'm Dr. Kelly Livingston, and today we're diving into Module 2 of our Seeds of Health series. Last episode, we explored mindfulness, and we touched a little bit on breath work and why we water those seeds daily. Today, we're moving on to the second seed, which is hydration and hydrotherapy. If you have not yet downloaded your Seeds of Health journal, I suggest you do that so you can follow along today. And let me tell you right away, this is not just about drink more water. Yes, hydration matters. Yes, the amount of water you drink matters, but water is so much more than ounces or bottles. You will hear me check in every new patient visit with how much water that patient might be drinking. But even if they're drinking half their body weight in ounces of water, which is the standard recommendation, they might still be dehydrated. Here's a quick stat for you. Studies suggest that up to 75% of adults in the US are chronically dehydrated. In midlife, dehydration becomes even more common, and hormone changes during perimenopause and menopause make hot flashes, night sweats, and fluid shifts more frequent, and women often do not realize that their fatigue, joint aches, or brain fog are partly due to not being hydrated adequately. Water is life. It makes up 60 to 70% of the adult body, and when we don't have enough, every system feels it. In fact, the most common symptom that I saw in my practice this summer was dizziness, and so often that was actually due to dehydration. So why did I include hydration and water as a seed of health that I think is important for every patient's health journey? It's foundational, like I said, because your body is made mostly of water. Our blood, our lymphatics, our digestive juices, even your brain, they all depend on hydration. So even when you're slightly dehydrated, your body is experiencing that as stress. The most common symptoms of dehydration that you can follow along and check in with any of these resonate with you would be fatigue and brain fog. Very often fatigue or that foggy brain feeling or just dehydration, headaches, constipation or slow transit time. We've had a whole episode on constipation, but dehydration absolutely contributes to this, especially in the women I see in my practice. Muscle cramps are a big sign of dehydration, or restless legs sometimes. Dehydration can present as leg cramping. Dry skin, that one seems kind of obvious, but very often I have patients that haven't thought that dehydration is contributing to that dry skin that they're experiencing, or even brittle hair or fragile nails. And definitely worsened hot flashes or night sweats in perimenopause can be the result of dehydration. And that's why hydration is a seed of health. It creates the conditions for every other healing practice to flourish. And dehydration is so often an obstacle to cure that we need to remove in order to create the conditions for healing to occur. One of the reasons hydration is so important is because it impacts cellular function in the body. So hydration is not just about quenching thirst. And very often when we're dehydrated, we actually don't feel thirsty. But hydration is even more about how your cells work. Every cell has a membrane that acts like a gatekeeper, and water is what allows nutrients to move into the cell and toxins and waste products to move out of the cell. So when you're dehydrated, those transport systems are slowing down. So nutrients are not getting into the cells efficiently and toxins can't get out. The result is going to be sluggish metabolism, fatigue, inflammation, and sometimes even a toxic feeling in the body. If you wake up with puffiness or the feeling or sensation of being heavy and puffy in your body, very often this can be a result of dehydration. So, hydration is really key for what I call cellular housekeeping. It's what makes detoxification and nourishment possible in our body. And when we're dehydrated, our bodies get a signal that we are not safe. And if you've been listening and following along, then you know that we need to feel safe in our body in order to heal. So you're probably sitting there thinking, well, Dr. Kelly, how can I tell if I'm dehydrated? Here's a practical tip. You can often see signs of dehydration in routine labs, even on a simple CMP or comprehensive metabolic panel that you've probably had run with your primary care physician if you're going for regular checkups. Markers that might suggest dehydration are going to be your BUN or BUN, your blood urea nitrogen, and an elevated BUN, especially if creatinine is normal, can point to dehydration. You're also going to look at your BUN and creatinine ratio. So a high ratio greater than a 20-to-1 can suggest that you're underhydrated. You want to look also at your sodium in that complete metabolic panel. So a high, normal, or elevated level of sodium can reflect low water intake relative to electrolytes in the body. And you want to also look at albumin and hematocrit. So sometimes higher concentrations can be a clue that the blood is more concentrated due to a low volume. So go back to the episodes on the labs to run during perimenopause. And a lot of even the micronutrient panels discussed in those episodes can indicate that you are dehydrated. Also, you can do a simple little skin check. So you can just take your hand and you can pull the flap of skin at the top of your hand up. And if that skin stays kind of up, like tented, almost like there's a little tent, then you're dehydrated. You want to see elasticity and you want to see that skin go down more quickly. And as I mentioned, if you have swelling or edema, so say, for example, you look at your ankles and you notice that if you press in on the tissue on your ankles and that's staying indented, that swelling can also be a sign of dehydration. It can be a sign of other things too, but just so you have some tips and tools that you can try at home. Now, these aren't diagnostic on their own, right? But they can give you clues. So if you look back at old labs and you see some of those patterns, it's worth asking, am I truly hydrated, even though I might be drinking water every day? And this is one of the first things that I do check when reviewing new patient labs. Sometimes the story is right there and it's so simple, and we don't need a fancy test to tell us that that patient is dehydrated. Let's talk a little bit about how hydration and water go beyond just impacting your cells and they impact your fascia and your lymphatics. Hydration is not just about that cellular communication, but it's also about your drainage systems. So, your lymphatic system is like your body's sewer and recycling system. It clears out toxins, pathogens, old hormones, immune debris. It's moving things out of your body, right? But your lymph doesn't have a pump like your heart does. Your heart pumps your blood. Your lymph doesn't have pumps. It relies on movement, muscle contraction, exercise, things like walking, and hydration to flow. So when you're dehydrated, your lymph gets sluggish and thick and stuck. And you can think of it like a river running. And when the river's running low or sluggish and stuck, then you're going to have toxins that are stagnating and not moving. Your immune system is slowing down. Inflammation is building up because you're not moving things through. Remember, stagnation is the breeding ground of disease. Then you've got your fascia, the connective tissue that surrounds every muscle, organ, and nerve. And your fascia is like a hydration sponge. When it's well hydrated, it's gliding smoothly, it's transmitting information, and electrochemical gradients are functioning properly within that system. It's supporting movement. When it's dehydrated, it stiffens, it sticks, and that leads to pain, tension, restricted flow, and again, stagnation. And you won't be as comfortable when this is impacted. So, this is why so many chronic conditions, ranging from autoimmune issues to migraines to low energy, will benefit when we restore hydration and lymphatic flow. It's also why things like biotherapeutic drainage protocols, some of those chemotherapies or detox drainage protocols that I've talked about before, are so helpful when we're beginning our work on drainage and we're trying to open up these emunctories or detox pathways. Hydration is so key when we're working on this. So let's start with everyday hydration basics. So within the hydration seat of health, one of the first things that I'm asking patients to do is wake up and drink water. Just wake up and hydrate. So I'll often talk with patients about morning lemon water. So warm or room temperature water with a squeeze of lemon is so simple, right? But it wakes up digestion, it stimulates bile production, it's supporting your liver and detox after you've been digesting and sleeping all night, and it's going to hydrate you first thing in the morning before you do anything dehydrating like coffee. And certainly, if you are participating in dehydrating habits like lots of tea or lots of coffee or things that are diuretic and move urine out of the body, you definitely want to have extra water. Certainly, if you have things that are dehydrating like alcohol, you want to have extra water. Those kind of go without saying, right? Another great at home hydration strategy is utilizing apple cider vinegar. So, raw apple cider vinegar with the mother in and putting about a teaspoon in water before meals can help with stomach acid production and digestion. It can ease reflux symptoms and bloating. I'll often use it to help with blood sugar balance in patients throughout the day. And it can also support in healthy weight loss. And this is a tip that I utilize in my hydration seat of health as well with patients. Then you've got herbal teas and infusions. So maybe some ginger for circulation and digestion, chamomile for calming, peppermint for bloating, or milk thistle for your liver. Teas and hydration are one of my favorite medicines to use. And you've certainly got electrolytes. So, minerals are key for absorption, and considering high quality electrolyte that's free from added sugar and artificial ingredients can be helpful in rounding out your hydration daily habit or seat of health. I'll give you a quick little at home electrolyte recipe that I like to use. So, you're going to have 2 cups of water, the juice of half a lemon squeezed in, 1 to 2 tablespoons of raw honey or maple syrup, a pinch of Himalayan salt or sea salt, so pink salt or sea salt, and a splash of coconut water. That part's just optional. I like the coconut water added in there. And this is going to help balance sodium, potassium, glucose. It will hydrate you. And there's no added dyes, no neon colors, no preservatives, etc. One of the things I really do work on with new patients is recognizing what they're putting in their body as far as hydration that is unnecessary or even detrimental to their healing process. So, definitely those sugary drinks are out and highly caffeinated beverages are out when we're concerned about dehydration. Now, that brings me to hydrotherapy, which is the therapeutic use of water. As naturopathic physicians, we have 4 years of hydrotherapy. So we're trained in using hot, cold, steam, ice, all to stimulate healing and stimulate that vis, that vital force within us, right? You can think of it like exercise for your circulation when you use water or hydrotherapy for healing. So hot water dilates blood vessels and cold water constricts them. So I'll often use alternating contrast hydrotherapy with patients and just remembering that hot water dilates and moves blood through and cold water constricts can be really helpful when you're beginning to learn about hydrotherapy. And alternating them hot cold creates a pump that boosts flow, immunity, and detoxification. Some examples of this include contrast showers, so hot and cold rounds. Remember in my interview with Dr. Z, he said always end your shower in cold. So after having a hot shower, you can end your shower with about 30 seconds of cold. Another key hydrotherapy tool that I use with patients are Epsom salt baths. You know, I talk about these. I talk about how great they are for not only absorbing the magnesium in the Epsom salt and supporting your detox pathways, but boosting your immune function, for relaxation, even for, I would say, for kind of spiritual hygiene and cleansing and protecting some of our energetic boundaries. Cleansing in an Epsom salt bath is so wonderful for that. And it's a great time to do breathwork practice as well. Next, in the hydrotherapy category, I do usually put castor oil packs, even though that's not necessarily water. And I'm often talking about utilizing castor oil packs over the abdomen for detox, for digestion. I'll use castor oil packs over inflamed joints with patients sometimes. And you can put a hot water bottle over that castor oil pack as you sit down and relax and let it do its work. And definitely have to mention cold plunges or cold face immersion here. So that's going to be great for vagal tone and it's going to work on helping your autonomic nervous system to regulate. So these simple tools are wonderful for inflammation, circulation, your nervous system. And as I said, I discuss a lot of these in the Seed of Health Hydration Hydrotherapy module here that I'm introducing, as well as in that Seed of Health journal. So if you haven't downloaded that yet, please do so. And like I said, it'll make it easier as you follow along with me, guiding you through these seeds of health in each episode. I want to talk a little bit about the energy of water too. So, water is more than just chemistry, it actually carries energy and information. So, spring water, for example, is living water. It's structured water, it's mineral rich, it's straight from the earth. Ocean water, for example, holds negative ions that can boost mood and reset your nervous system. Simply breathing near ocean water changes your physiology. Hot springs are mineral medicine, so soaking in hot springs is so good for your skin, for soothing pain, again, for those detox pathways. And absolutely, bathing in a forest stream or a waterfall carries with it vitality that many people describe as spiritual renewal or providing that sense of awe and wonder, right? You can get out in nature and get into water, and you will feel rejuvenated and vital and uplifted. And cultures have always known this, right? Ritual bathing, sacred springs, pilgrimages to healing water. They're all honoring water's role as medicine for the body and soul. And I did want to touch on that in this episode. So if you've known me for any amount of time, or if you subscribe to my newsletter, you will know my love for water is a close runner-up to my obsession with the sun. So you can always find me daydreaming about moving somewhere warm and spending my days truly rooted in the hydrotherapy seat of health, just out in the sun and in the sea. One day it'll happen. And sometimes patients will tell me that plain water just doesn't hydrate me. This is something that I hear often. And this is one of the places where homeopathy might come in. So, one of our most common cell salts, Natrum muriaticum, essentially the energetic imprint of table salt, is often prescribed for people who crave salt or feel they can't get hydrated no matter how much water they drink. So, you might hear me recommending that to a patient who describes that plain water doesn't hydrate them. This is kind of the subtle, nuanced side of hydration, right? So sometimes the body needs not just fluid, not just water, but the right energetic message to restore balance. So I might also use combination cell salts or tissue salts when I first start working on hydration with a patient. And I certainly might look into mineral balance with that patient as well. Hydration and hydrotherapy directly affect your nervous system, your stress response, and your brain. So, dehydration slows neurons down, impairing focus and mood. Cold water boosts vagal tone and resilience. You might be familiar with cold plunges. I do think they can be beneficial for some, although for some people, I think that it increases their stress response a little bit too much. And warm water increases parasympathetic activity and sleep. So, again, those warm Epsom salt baths at night are such a great hydrotherapy tool. And balanced hydration creates the conditions for neuroplasticity. So that's that our brain's ability to rewire. And rewiring the brain toward balance and resilience can really only happen if we're hydrated. So if you're going to practice a mindfulness or breathwork practice from last week as one of your seeds of health you're focused on, it's also a great idea to focus on your hydration seed of health that week too. So, what are some actionable tips that you can start on this week? First things first is wake up and drink water before you have anything else. Drink water before your coffee. If you're into it, add some lemon into your water or even try some apple cider vinegar. Then you can go a step further. You could add some minerals, maybe some sea salt, like we talked about. Maybe some homemade electrolyte drinks are in your future. You can make them in batches and keep them in your fridge and drink those all day long. And certainly consider trying an herbal tea as hydration and medicine. So if you're someone struggling with sleep, maybe try a calming tea tonight to help you get to sleep. And consider trying some of that contrast hydrotherapy. So ending your shower in cold or maybe taking an Epsom salt bath tonight. You can even incorporate mindfulness with hydration, and you can have magic mindful moments of hydration. So you can pause, sip on your tea. You can appreciate the just process of making your tea, taking a step away from the hustle and bustle of the day, and just having a mindful moment where you're making something good for yourself, and hydration is a part of that. And these small daily practices are so powerful when repeated. They do have a cumulative effect. They add up and they all work together. That's the point of the seeds of health. You might not water them all every day, but you're going to keep them all alive, right? I've got to touch a little more on the spirit of water because I keep saying water's not just chemistry and physiology, even though it's so important for our biochemistry and our physiology. But water is really sacred. And across cultures, as I mentioned, water has been part of healing rituals. So we have baptisms, we have river cleansing, sweat lodges, tea ceremonies. Water is a universal symbol of renewal and cleansing. It washes away what no longer serves us, and it's often a chance to begin again. I think we all know that feeling, even just jumping into cold water. I keep looking outside at the river here because I'm tempted to go for a paddleboard after this recording and maybe jumping into that cool water. It's such a wonderful feeling, right? On a spiritual level, water teaches us to flow, to soften, to accept, to yield when we need to, and to carve out paths over time. It's really symbolic in that way when you think about it. So every time you drink mindfully or step into the ocean or jump off your paddleboard into the river or pause and feel the rain on your skin on a rainy day, you're reconnecting with something ancient and you're reconnecting with a nature cure and a tool of healing that your body recognizes. And this is something that's touched every living being before you and has sustained life on this planet for many, many, many years before you existed. So I like to think of water as holding memory, and it definitely has this rhythm to it, and it holds our life in its rhythm. And I have a mentor, if she's listening to this, she'll know who she is. She'll be a guest on the podcast in the future. And she taught me the saying when I was preceptoring with her in Maui that life has a wave with us. And I just loved that so much. Life has a wave with us. It really does. And whether we're going through grief or we're celebrating or we're just dealing with the daily chop wood, carry water of life, life has a wave with us. And it's about riding that wave. And I just love the symbolism of water in the healing process. And so this is why hydration and hydrotherapy are a seed of health. And I wanted to prioritize them with every patient that I work with. It's a daily invitation to reset, to regulate, and to return to the vital spirit of life itself by focusing on water as a therapeutic tool. So before we finish up, I want to do another heart coherence exercise with you and practice together for a couple minutes. I mentioned this in our last episode, so you can go back and do another one if you like this one. And this is a practice from heart math research that aligns breath, heart coherence, and emotion. And as I said, I introduced it to you before, so hopefully you enjoyed it. So if it feels good to you, you're going to gently close your eyes and place one hand over your heart and one hand on your belly. And you're going to slow your breathing. Inhale through your nose for 5 seconds. And exhale through your mouth for 7 seconds. Continue the steady rhythm. As you breathe, imagine your breath flowing in and out through your heart. With each inhale, fill your heart with warmth and light. With each exhale, release tension. Now bring your mind to something that fills you with gratitude. The face of someone you love, your child's laughter, the way sunlight dances on water. Let that feeling expand in your chest as you breathe. And stay here for a few breaths. Inhale gratitude. Exhale gratitude. Notice how your body feels. Calm, warm, steady. This is coherence. Your physiology sinking into balance. Now imagine warm water flowing into your heart space with each breath. Breathe in and picture the warm flow of deep, rich blue water into your heart space. And exhale, imagining cool blue water flowing out through your body. Inhale deep blue. Exhale cool light blue. Inhale deep blue. Exhale cool light blue throughout your blood, to each limb, to your arms, into your hands, down your legs, into your feet, spreading healing, relaxing you. Take one more deep breath. And exhale. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Hydration and hydrotherapy are not just about ounces of water. They're about circulation, detoxification, energy, emotion, and even spirit. When you drink lemon water, when you take a contrast shower, when you sit in an Epsom salt bath, you're not just hydrating. You're reminding your body what flow feels like. And you're reminding your body that there are tools in nature for healing. This is why hydration and hydrotherapy are such an important seed of health to water every day. It's a daily invitation to reset, to hydrate, to regulate, and to reconnect with the life force within. As I mentioned, to help you get started, I created the free Seeds of Health journal. You can download that in the show notes. And as always, this episode is sponsored by my clinic, Roots Deep Medicine, and my signature care system, the Vital Spirit Method. Please download and subscribe to keep these episodes going and share with someone you might feel can benefit from this knowledge. Today, let water remind you that healing doesn't have to be forced. Sometimes it's as simple as remembering how to flow. Have a great day.